It's my great pleasure to introduce to you the Director of the Union Veterans Council, a good friend, a good ally, and a good labor union member, Will Fisher.
Thank you so very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, let me first start by saying that, as President Sager mentioned, this is my third time to be afforded the opportunity to address the delegates of the Iowa AFL-CIO convention. And I note that really as a way to say thank you. Whether it's community services, whether it's politics, I'm hard-pressed to think of any organization that has always been as so supportive as the Iowa AFL-CIO. And I just wanted to say thank you so very, very much to everybody here. And let me now say thank you to each of you for again allowing me a few moments of your time. A few moments of your time today to discuss some issues and ideas which are very, very special to me, which are very, very important to all of us, and which are vital to the success of our movement. Now, before moving forward, let's just do a quick exercise real quick. Would all the veterans in the room please raise their hand? All right, now keep them up, keep them up, keep them up. Now, how about everybody with a spouse, mother, father, brother, sister, or son or daughter who's a veteran raise their hand? All right, now keep them up, keep them up. Now, everybody who knows a veteran in their local union back home, raise their hand. Now, take a look around. Take a look around. We can set our hands down now. Was anybody surprised to see how many folks just now raised their hand? Anybody? Well, let me tell you, if you were, you shouldn't have been. And that's because I could leave this hall right now and I could walk into any local union meeting. I could walk onto any job site, any shop floor, factory, mill, post office, or VA hospital, anywhere in Iowa or anywhere else in America, and make that same request. Would all the veterans in here please raise their hand? And I would have had the exact same response. You see, sisters and brothers, that's because when you find yourself talking to an audience of people who work, you're talking to an audience of people who served. And when you see somebody fighting for their and our rights on the job here at home, very often, that same person's already tasted battle and fought for our nation overseas. And that is very much at the core of what I want to talk with you about here today. You know, every movement, every organization, every union begins with an idea. Very often it's a pretty simple idea. It's the idea and dreams of something that will give a movement birth, nourish it through infancy, and sustain it through adversity. And the Union Veterans Council is no different. Sisters and brothers, at the end of the day, our job, our purpose, is simply to make the lives of veterans and the working class better. To show that the issues that are affecting veterans and those that are affecting the working class aren't independent of each other. To advocate so that when someone comes home and takes off their uniform, they're able to have access to a good job. Not just a job, but a good job. To mobilize so that when someone comes home and takes off that uniform, they're able to have access to health care we earn. Quality health care that's delivered through a strong, fully funded, and fully staffed VA. And to organize, sisters and brothers, to make sure that when someone comes home and takes off their uniform, they're able to go to work carrying with them basic dignity, respect, and the ability to collectively bargain for a fair reward for the job that they do. That's what the Union Veterans Council does. We fight for those who fought for us, and we stand together for a better life. Now, you would think, based on the rhetoric we so often hear, and certainly heard a few weeks ago in Cleveland, that everything I've said thus far would have wide support. Wide support. You'd think everybody running for anything, whether it's President of the United States, the U.S. Senate, governor, or the smallest office in the smallest town in America, would tell you that veterans ought to be able to have access to good jobs and a strong VA. After all, politicians love to talk about how much they love veterans, don't they? You can't find somebody on the campaign trail that won't toss that baby aside they're getting ready to kiss if they see a chance to throw their arm around a veteran. Put a veteran in their TV commercial. Get up in the back of a truck bed, give a speech, talk about how we have to stand with veterans, have the backs of veterans, honor the sacrifices of veterans. But you know, every time I hear anybody talking like that, I always have a few questions for them. Is it pro-veteran to attack project labor agreements? Well, is it? Is it pro-veteran to try to destroy and privatize the VA? Is it pro-veteran to support bad trade deals that rip jobs away from veterans and send them overseas? Of course not. Of course not. Look around this room. You saw how many veterans are here. You know how many are in your local unions back home. And yet, And yet, these are the actions, the ones I mentioned just a moment ago, that are carried out by some of those who claim so loudly to be pro-veteran. They're the same folks who sent me, many of you, and your loved ones to all corners of the world to fight and protect and make sure that our nation had a future. And now that we're back home, and now that they're finished with us, they're doing everything they can to keep us from having a future of our own. Make no mistake about it, sisters and brothers, make no mistake about it. The exact same people who are more than willing to go out and start wars and send the working class to fight them with our blood are the exact same people, the exact same stock, who are more than willing to amass fortunes off the sweat and labor of veterans once we return back home. But I got news for those folks, and we saw it just a moment ago. The veteran class is the working class, and an attack on workers is an attack on veterans. Not just in some parts of America, but all over America. Not in some sectors, but all sectors, and not just sometimes, but each and every single time. Now, moving on a little bit, and aside from what's already been mentioned, is a little bit about the new and unlikely battlefield in the war on veterans and the war on workers. And let me just say, coming right out of the gate, for the veterans who work at the VA and for the veterans who are treated at the VA, the stakes could not be any higher. Let me explain. In the wake of last year's secret waitlist scandal, where VA managers rigged a scheduling system to make it appear that more veterans were being treated than actually were, Congress gave some authority to the VA Secretary Bob McDonnell to get rid of some of those bad managers and some resources to hire on some new staff, many of whom are veterans, to take care of the influx of new patients coming into the VA system. And you know, today the VA is seeing more patients than ever before and continuing to provide quality, integrated care that's designed specifically for veterans. Now, don't get me wrong. There's still work to be done. There's still progress to be made. But things are headed in the right direction. But some folks want to keep that a secret. You see, rather than join in trying to find ways to improve care for veterans, some have used these troubles to the VA as an opportunity to chip away at basic workplace rights and as an opportunity to make inroads into destroying and privatizing the VA. And I think everybody in this room knows privatization, that's just a fancy word for saying, I'm going to let my billionaire buddies profit off the care of veterans. All this despite the fact that not even 3 weeks ago, the RAND Corporation came out with a new study saying that the VA provides equal or better care than the private sector across the board. All this despite the fact that veterans and veteran service organizations routinely are out there talking about how much we enjoy the care we receive from the VA. All this despite the fact that recent bipartisan polling has shown that nearly 60% of veterans would have categorically opposed the candidacy of any politician who supports privatizing the VA. So you're left asking yourself, well, who supports this? Who supports this? Well, for one, that chicken hawk charlatan Donald Trump, he supports this. Actually, you know, Donald Trump's so keen on talking about me and my fellow veterans all the time. Y'all mind if I talk to y'all about Donald Trump as a veteran for a moment? Donald Trump. Here we have somebody who compares their sex life in the 80s and 90s to combat in Vietnam. Somebody who says, when me and my comrades were hit by roadside bombs, we just went for a little ride in the air. Somebody who degrades the service of people like John McCain and other prisoners of war. Somebody who attacks Gold Star families. But can we just let that sink in for a moment? Where are we in our politics where you have a politician, in this case, the nominee for President of the United States of the Republican Party, attacking Gold Star families? People who have already sacrificed more than many can even begin to imagine. Somebody who only 2.5 weeks ago waved a Purple Heart in the air and remarked, you know, I've always wanted one of these. I've always wanted a Purple Heart. You know, I had a friend call me about 10 minutes after Donald Trump made those remarks, saying he'd always wanted a Purple Heart, and asked me what I thought about it. And I was honest with him, and I told him that the very first thing that came to mind for me was August the 19th, 2004. You see, on August the 19th, 2004, I was awarded a Purple Heart. And my brother who got his arm blown off that day, he was awarded a Purple Heart. And my Marine Corps brother who lost his eye that day, he was awarded a Purple Heart. And my Marine brother who was killed that day, he was awarded a Purple Heart. You see, what they didn't teach Donnie in that elite military prep school is that Purple Hearts are reminders of very bad days. And nobody with one ever wanted it. This is somebody who categorically wants to send more young American women and men into combat. Not his kids. Donnie Jr., Eric, Ivanka, they're not going to put on a flak jacket anytime soon. But if the son of a bitch gets elected president, your kids will, and your kids will, and your kids will. And it's mighty bold talk coming from somebody who dodged service when it was their term with the help of multiple deferments and having a rich dad. But let me be clear about something, gang. This anti-veteran, anti-working class nonsense extends well beyond the race for the presidency. You see me, when you hear me up here talking about those politicians who like to come back home and give those speeches and put out emails and talk about how much they love veterans, but then when they get to Washington, D.C., they vote against us every chance they get, there's a few folks who come to mind immediately. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Well, for starters, your very own Chuck Grassley. Moving on down the line, it's your neighbors. Mark Kirk, right? Ron Johnson and Roy Blunt. You see, these folks vote against veterans' education benefits. They vote against veterans' job training benefits. They vote against veterans' health care benefits. Now, does that sound like the actions of somebody who's pro-veteran to you? Does that sound like somebody who gives a damn about the 231,000 veterans who call Iowa home or the 22 million veterans who live here in America? Of course not. And why? Why would someone take these anti-veteran positions like these folks have? Why? Well, I'll tell you, because the billionaire class led by the Koch brothers told them to. Because they were told to. And they have support. In fact, they've gone out and they've bought themselves their very own veterans group, the Concerned Veterans for America, their very own band of Judases, a group of folks who, and I don't hesitate in saying it for a moment, are traitors to their fellow veterans. They offer full-throated support and strong financial backing to privatizing the VA, to privatizing veterans' military retirement benefits, and for carrying the Koch brothers' anti-worker, anti-veteran narrative into our working class fights all across this country. And sisters and brothers, I'm telling you right now, they're out there and they're trying to organize. They're trying to bring more and more people together. They're trying to spread more and more of their venomous propaganda. And those folks I mentioned a little while ago, they're working mighty damn hard to get them reelected. But I have some good news. When we do our job, we're better at it than they are. And Donald Trump and the rest of these folks can have their asses shut down come the 8th of November if we do our job. You see, that's because standing with the working class and with veterans, we have champions in our endorsed candidates. And one that I want to mention and speak to directly right now, let me just say it as crystal clear as I can. I'm a veteran, I'm working class, and I'm with her. And I'm with Hillary Clinton because she's with us, and she always has been. You see, veterans in the working class aren't political props to Hillary Clinton. We're human beings. That's why as First Lady, Hillary Clinton spearheaded efforts to raise awareness about issues that were affecting Gulf War veterans. That's why as a United States Senator, she championed legislation like the 21st Century GI Bill. And that's why as President of the United States, Hillary Clinton will work to expand veterans' education benefits. She'll work to expand veterans' job training benefits. And she will never, ever allow our VA to be destroyed and privatized. No, what she'll do is build on the successes the VA is already having. Build on those successes and work to ensure that every veteran is able to have access to the quality health care that we earned. And gang, more than anything, Hillary Clinton fundamentally understands that what a veteran needs access to more than anything upon returning home is a good job. A good job that allows for a life with dignity, and a good job that allows us to live out the American dream we fought to protect and defend. Now, are we ready to work to help get Hillary Clinton and these other folks elected? Are we ready to rid ourselves of Donald Trump and these other swine? Are we ready to work? Yeah. Are we ready to fight? Yeah. Good. I'll tell you right now, it wasn't but 15 years ago I was a young recruit at Parris Island, South Carolina, and it was there I learned two very, very valuable lessons. Number one, in the immortal words of Marine Corps legend Chesty Puller, to hurt him, you got to hit him. And number two, the mission of a Marine Corps rifle squad is to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver, and repel enemy assault through fire and close combat. Now, of course, that's the attitude mindset that I took to Iraq. But it's also the attitude mindset that I take to work every day. And that is the attitude mindset that we're going to have to take to win these fights. We have to take the fight to them, sisters and brothers. We have to out-organize them. We're going to bring more people together. We're going to have to spread more truth. And I'm telling you right now, if we do this work and do this organizing, we're going to whip these bastards, and not just in the voting booth this fall, but in state houses, in D.C., and in working class fights all across this country. Thank you. So how are we going to do this, right? How are we going to do this? Well, that's what I'm here to talk to you a little bit about today. You know, as it was mentioned in my introduction, my name is Will Fisher. I'm the Executive Director of the Union Veterans Council. And in that role, I work with our affiliated unions, our federation bodies, and other partners and allies around the country working to bring working class veterans together around those issues that are impacting us most. And to have those conversations about those issues, yes, as trade unionists, yes, as the working class, but also having those conversations as veterans. And I'm telling you right now, we're growing every day. And we're growing for three main reasons. Number one, I'm afforded very generously many opportunities like this right here. Able to talk to people, people are finding out we exist, and they're signing up. I've yet to find myself either in a break room, on a job site, at a state Fed convention or an international unions convention, talking to a group of folks, talking to a group of trade unionists, that I haven't also been talking to a group of veterans. Number two, small as we are, as far as I can tell, we are the only group out there talking with, to, and about veterans as a class, and lifting up the fact that the veteran class and the working class are one and the same. Number three, we are being very aggressive in inserting ourselves into political, legislative, and organizing fights. Now, in terms of politics, what we're doing more than anything, we're just cutting through the rhetoric and focusing on the record. We're lifting up not just what people out there are saying, but how they're voting, right? And we're doing this through worksite leaflets. We're doing this through local union mail. We're doing this through op-eds and other earned media. And we're doing this with rallies and events all over the country, bringing working class veterans together and having the conversation about this election, but having that conversation veteran to veteran. Now, in terms of legislative fights, some of y'all probably do some lobbying on occasion. Am I right? Now, for you veterans out there, does it ever occur to you, if you go out there and do that lobbying, to maybe mention the fact that you're a veteran? Right? Let me just give you an example. I could leave today, go back to Washington, and walk into a congressional office. Walk in and say, "Hi, my name is Will Fisher. I'm a member of the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 51, and I'm here to talk about why the Trans-Pacific Partnership is bad for me and my fellow workers." Now, what are some of them going to say? Of course, your union sent you here to tell me that. Now, what if instead I walked in and I said, "Hi, my name is Will Fisher. I'm a veteran of the war in Iraq, and I'm a United States Marine, and I'm here to talk about why the Trans-Pacific Partnership is bad for me and my fellow veterans." Right? Sounds a little different. Sounds a little different. Same working class message, but we're delivering it through that veteran lens. Now, in terms of organizing, look, y'all can tell from my accent, guess what? I'm from a right-to-work state, too. Now, what if you have a new hire come on board and you find out that he or she is a veteran? Why wouldn't you have a veteran who's already active in the local go talk to that new hire and have them have that conversation about the union difference and about solidarity, but have that conversation veteran to veteran? As I mentioned before, we're growing every day, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask each of you to join us as well. You don't have to do it right now, later today. Here's the good news. It takes you less than 10 seconds and doesn't cost you a thing. Right? You visit us at unionveterans.org, sign up. I know some of you are probably really active on social media. Guess what? So are we. I'd encourage you to visit us on the Union Veterans Council Facebook page and give us a like. Here's the reality. I can't be everywhere, neither can you. But together, sisters and brothers, together we can. So when you get that first email, when you see something we post on social media that you like, send that around to your sisters and brothers at the local. Send that around to the folks that you worship with. Send that around to the people that you coach Little League with and that you interact with on a regular basis. Help us build this veteran-driven movement, this veteran-driven fighting force for the entire working class. Brothers and sisters, we're meeting at a historic time. I think we all know that. And veterans, once again, we find ourselves on the front lines. We have a unique opportunity as veterans to shape the way that we and others talk about the trade union movement, talk about our political fights, talk about our legislative fights, talk about our organizing. You know, in the end of the day, the movement that's successful is the movement that hadn't forgotten its mission, its charge, or its simple idea. And that's what we're focused on. Look, the next election cycle, it's here. It's not the next one anymore, it's this one. We're ready for it, though. We've been building for it every day. And when we come together and we lift up who we really are and who our endorsed candidates really are and what they believe in, and we lift up who our enemies are and what they really believe in, the people are on our side. To my fellow veterans in the room, you know, we're veterans because at some point we answered the call to fight and make sure our nation had a future. But now we're back home. Now we're back home, and it's on us to come together and fight to make sure that we have a future. It's on us to organize and expel those from office who prey upon us. It's on us to organize and meet our enemies in the streets here at home the same way we used to meet our enemies in the streets abroad. Organize and fight a new war, but our war, a war for our voice, our dignity, our future, a war against greed and against suffering. Together, sisters and brothers, we can toss off the chains of economic slavery the same way we used to toss off a flak jacket at the end of an evening patrol, but only if we organize. Organizing must be first, foremost, and fundamental. And I'm telling you, if we do this work, then not only are we going to again find ourselves fighting together, we're going to find ourselves winning together too. And I thank you so very, very much.